Welcome to Stayf Draws. I'm Steven de Groot, a Dutch artist. And today is a very special day because 25 years ago I started my professional career as an artist. And to celebrate that, I want to share a big painting I did for the Zandvoort Museum. It was an exhibition I had here in a museum, and it is a narrative time-lapse video with a story about the history of a seaside resort which is called Zandvoort. And because it is 25 years of a professional career, I want to premiere this video on YouTube, on this channel. Without much further ado, I give you Panorama Zandvoort. Zandvoort, a popular Dutch seaside resort to unwind. It's close to Amsterdam and Haarlem. Initially, Zandvoort was a fishing village. A bath culture began to emerge in the second half of the 19th century. It was a spa people visited to rest and take healing baths in the North Sea. At that time, it was generally assumed that taking a sea bath was extremely suitable for the mental and physical state of mind. The bathers were wealthy visitors who spent their summer holidays in their own or rented houses. More visitors had to be accommodated somewhere, especially after the construction of the railway in 1881, and 18 years later the connection by tram from the nearest town, Haarlem. In addition to the existing hotels Driehuizen and Groot Badhuis, a third hotel was built, Hotel von Kaufmann, which became Hotel d'Orange in 1893. Building New Zandvoort north of the village gave a new impetus to the development of Zandvoort as a seaside resort. The hotels were very generously set up. South of Hotel d'Orange, a water tower was built in 1913 to increase the water pressure of the new water supply. The water tower served as a water and observation tower and was built as a tourist attraction. The hotels rented parts of the beach on which they could place bathing carriages. The bathing machines were used to pull into the water by a horse, so women could bathe in privacy. At the end of the First World War, foreign well-to-do bathers stayed away, because there were other alternatives, such as a stay on the French Riviera. In the 20s, beach visits flourished again, because people got paid leave. A trip abroad was too expensive, but a trip to Zandvoort was a good alternative. Gradually, the public who visited the beach changed. Sunday was the busiest day, because Saturday was not yet a day off. Many day visitors visited the beach. This caused a change in the type of beach visitors. The beach was divided into two parts. At the beginning of the beach, a strip was made where people could sunbathe. It was protected by the bathing carriages that were now used as changing rooms. Previously, it was chic to have a white skin, but in the 20s a sunburned skin was seen as a beauty ideal. On parts of the beach were wicker chairs, and there was space for recreation. Not everyone went to the beach to swim. The wicker chairs also served as a sunscreen, and many people were sitting on the beach fully dressed. There were tents where you could buy drinks and food. And vendors walked across the beach to sell drinks, fruit and newspapers. Children could ride on a donkey for a small fee. You could also take a trip on the sea along the beach with sailing boats. People started to swim in the sea. The swimwear was adjusted accordingly. Before that time, bathing suits consisted of two pieces, but in the 20s a one-piece swimsuit came into fashion. Previously, people rented a bathing suit, but now they were cheaper and visitors brought their own. After the stock market crash of 1929, the Netherlands was in crisis. This was also noticeable in Zandvoort. Many hotels had to close their doors, and Hotel d'Orange was converted into an apartment complex in 1937. In 1940, the Germans invaded the Netherlands. The Second World War had disastrous consequences for Zandvoort. From 1941, there was a ban on the beach for Jews. On the 23rd of May 1942, there was a general ban on visiting the beach. For the construction of the Atlantic Wall, all hotels and houses had to be demolished on the boulevard. Instead, bunkers were built. This was the end of Zandvoort as a high-class seaside resort. After the Second World War, Zandvoort became accessible to the public again. Gradually, the seaside resort was rebuilt to Zandvoort that we know today. In 1951, the new water tower was completed. A lot has changed in the past 100 years. The way people traveled to Zandvoort, fashion, social status, and the buildings. The only things that have remained unchanged are the sun, the sand, and the sea.